You're inside the press box. Christian FM Sports presents Inside the Press Box, where we discuss all sports from our favorite high school team to college and pro. Here's your hosts, Paul Tipton and Gary Paris.
Hey, Vero Nation. Paul Tipton along with Gary Paris. Thanks for joining us inside the press box. Vero Beach last week tasted defeat for the first time this season at the hands of Sanford Seminole, 45-20. GP, you weren't there for the game. Probably a good thing that you weren't there. That's just one of those games, Gary, where you just kind of go, you know what? You got to tip your cap to a team that is a very well-coached, talented team, came into the Citrus Bowl and said, we're better than you, and they proved it.
Well, I would have never had thought that we would get beat 45-20. There's no way I thought that would ever have happened. I thought we could man up good after playing Miami Northwestern earlier in the season and fought that game, had a good hard fight in that game and fought to win that game. And I felt like this was going to be the barometer. You know, you heard me say this game will be a barometer for us to tell us how well we match up against quality teams. Because Seminole is one of the better teams in the state of Florida. So
True.
We knew that going in. We thought we were close to being one of the better teams in the state of Florida. We like to have thought that we could play with these guys, that we could man up against them. And we started out like we did.
Wow. No kidding. I mean 12 points in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
Two big plays, actually three big plays if you count the interception by Reynolds in the first half there. And I mean, two big plays by Vero Beach on the offensive side, and Matt and I are in the box and we're looking at each other like going, whoa, wow.
I'm in Manhattan, Kansas, listening to it on our app, Christian FM app, and I'm like, oh, man, we're up. Haven't made an extra point yet, but we're up.
We're up.
Two touchdowns to nothing.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you guys came out swinging. Vero Beach did. Seminole said, all right, settle down. It's a long game.
Yep.
And we have the weapons and we have the talent. And that's kind of what their coaches probably told them. Settle down. We haven't even gotten started yet. And, boy, did they get started.
They did. They fought their way back, took the lead about midway through the second quarter. And even there, Gary, you still felt like, okay, they're only up by just a little bit, and we're still in this game. We're not out of it. But then a couple of mistakes by Vero Beach, and then all of a sudden 10 quick points before the end of the first half. That really changed the momentum of the game.
That was what, to me, right there, probably was the game. That all of a sudden, you're within, we're 18-21, and you think, okay, we're still in this game. We get through this half. We can make some adjustments the second half. But for them to be able to score 10 points in less than 2 minutes at the end of the half, that was amazing. And that kind of put us out 31-18. And I'm thinking, wow, I don't know, can we make up those two touchdowns? We can't trade touchdown for touchdown at this point. In other words, if we scored, they scored, we scored, they scored, we'd never make up that difference that way. And that was my biggest fear, was that we had not, maybe we can figure a way of slowing them down. But when you're a good team, and again, their coach settled their guys down, and Seminole showed why they're in the top 10 in the state of Florida.
Yeah, they did. And I want to give them credit where credit is due. And I wanted to start at the line of scrimmage, Gary. And their offensive line did a tremendous job of giving their quarterback Lasky plenty of time to throw the ball. If they wanted to run the ball, they got the surge they needed to open up the lanes, and the running backs were able to get 5-6 yards most times at a clip. So they did what they needed to do at the line of scrimmage. Conversely, their defensive line started putting pressure on our quarterback and forcing us to throw the ball faster than we wanted to throw it. And really, took our ground game away. I think we finished with like 36, somewhere around 40 yards for the game of rushing. That's not typical for Vero.
No, it's not. And I had one of my radio comrades up at UCF says, what was Seminole's? Didn't Seminole lose to Treasure Coast? And I said, yes, they did. And I said, but you got to understand the game. It was played in a rainstorm. It was it was
conditions.
Off and on raining all night, wind blow. And I said they were not able to get their passing game going.
Mm-hmm.
And Seminole has a tremendous passing game to go with the running game.
Totally,
it's a balanced attack.
Yeah,
and it became a one-dimensional game. And Treasure Coast can play a pretty good one-dimensional game because all they want to do is smash mouth football.
Mm-hmm.
And that in the conditions they had, the game was 14-9 with Treasure Coast winning. Now, my hat's off to Treasure Coast.
Yeah.
But then they go down and they play St. Thomas Aquinas, which I give them credit for taking on that schedule, and got blown out.
They did.
They got blown out, kind of like worse than what we did against Seminole. But they did play the second best team in the state, or third best team in the state of Florida.
Yeah, and back on the Vero game this past week, I mean, if you just looked at some of the numbers, you wouldn't think that the score was what it was at 45-20. I mean, Seminole threw for 226 yards. They rushed for 135 yards. Okay, decent numbers, not great numbers. Vero Beach passed for 208 yards, but again, it was only 36 yards on the ground. So, and a lot of that rushing for Seminole honestly came in the second half when they just knew all they needed to do was run time off the clock, shorten the game as much as possible. That's where a lot of their rushing yardage came.
I think the thing that would bother Lenny more than anything else, Coach Jankowski, was the number of plays.
Mm-hmm.
You don't win, I think, what we have, 30 some odd plays?
I think it was 37.
37 plays for a whole ball game is not a lot of plays.
No, we're usually in the mid to high 60s.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's like a half of football, but that was the whole game.
Yeah.
So when you're limited to that many plays, then you really have shot yourself either in the foot or you're just getting dominated on the other side of the ball. And it's kind of combination of both there, situations. You can't make mistakes, and we're not quite good enough to make mistakes and beat a good quality team.
Yeah,
you got to play almost the perfect ball game, Paul. You've got to put it all together and not make the mistakes, and then to win have a chance of winning a game like that. Well,
the good news is we won't have to face that team again at all this year.
No, they're in the Metro.
They're in the Metro, so it's not like we'll see them down the road in the playoffs or anything like that. But so you mentioned at the very beginning, Gary, that barometer type of game. What's the barometer tell you?
I think the barometer tells us right now that we got a bunch of games left to play. It tells us that we got to work on certain aspects of our game. Okay. We know that up front in the trenches, we lost that battle in the trenches.
Totally,
both sides.
Totally.
So we recognize that now, and then we had to go out and try to fix that. What can we fix on that? Was it technique? Was it just believing the writings in the paper or in the social media? You get on that and you start believing how good you are in social media of that. And so you've got to fix that. You got to fix your trenches. I think Coach Jay has a great script and a great scheme to run with his offense. And I think Coach Mata has a good defense. I think what they did is they ran up against the team that was just a lot better than they were that night.
Yeah.
That night.
Yeah.
And everything we threw at them, we had some success at times, but they never panicked. They never quit. They just said, hey, look, settle down. Let's get back into this game. When they scored that second touchdown, I kind of felt like, whoa, we may be in, because they came back real fast and real quick. And then to me, I felt like when they took that 10 points at the end of the first half and took a 31-18 lead, I thought that barometer was that we measured ourselves right there, that we didn't stop them when we needed to.
Yeah, agreed.
Our defense did not come up with the big plays either. Our offense didn't come up with the big plays either to get back in the game. They had the ball back. They could have gone, if we could have gone down and scored a touchdown and on the kickoff, and then we could have gone ahead, at that time. But we didn't. We turned the ball over, and they capitalized on our mistakes, and that's a sign of a good team. That just shows us we're not there yet. Mm-hmm. We've got work to do, and I think Lenny knows that, and I think he and his staff will literally study the film. It's a great way to measure yourself because you see the good and you see a lot of the bad. You need to see the bad to make it better.
True.
And there'll be certain times you won't be able to make that any better because of the athletes they had.
Yeah.
If you've got a 5-star or a 4-star defensive lineman over there coming at you that's runs a 4.6, 4.7 40 coming off that edges, it's pretty hard to beat that guy. Mm-hmm. If he's 275 pounds and he comes flying off, it's hard to beat that guy. If he bench presses 350 or 400 pounds, and it's hard to beat that guy physically when you go up against somebody like that. The good thing is at this level, we don't see those kind of kids every game, but we did see some good ones.
Yeah, we
last week.
We did. All right, so we get to put that one behind us, and that game doesn't make or break your season.
Not at all.
It really doesn't.
No.
Now, from a point standpoint, that helps. You just root for Seminole to keep on winning here on out because that helps with your strength of schedule as far as any points are concerned. If we need that for seeding in the playoffs, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but we're about to hit the real home stretch here of this season, GP, and it starts this Friday night with our first district matchup and our first road game against Fort Pierce Central.
You're on the road, and Central is 2-2, I believe, and they've got some struggles of their own, and so what we've got to do is patch up our guys, and let's go to work.
Yeah.
Now we go into the district play. Every district game is a big win now.
Yep.
From here on out, you've got a schedule. In my opinion, the next barometer will be the big one with Treasure Coast, and we'll see how well we match up. I feel like we can beat Central with the athleticism we have on our team and the talent we have on our team. The only way we wouldn't would be the fact that we catch us flat, or we have some turnovers, some costly turnovers, some scoop and score type situations. But I feel that Vero bounces back, and I think they come back big against Central. And I think that it's one game at a time now. Yeah, that one's behind us, and we're not looking ahead till late October for that game.
Right.
At Treasure Coast, you can't because you got too many games in between.
No.
So you got to take on Central Friday night, and that's got to be it. That's got to be the game. That's got to be this week's big game is Central. And that's what the team needs to be focused on, and I guarantee you that's what the coaching staff will have them, as well as we know Lenny and the staff. Listen, you can't – that one's behind us. Let's put that one behind us. We thought about it Friday, and we thought about it Saturday, and now when Sunday you go out there and you start planning for Central, and that's what they've done now. They're going to be ready to play Central. I promise you that.
Yeah, and you know what, Gary? Maybe this is a good time for a road game. You know what I'm saying? Like we've had 5-6 straight weeks that we've been at home. Maybe not played games all 5 or 6 weeks, but we've been at home. And maybe this is the good time for everybody, like kind of rally around each other. you're going to go, this is where you can truly have that me against the world mentality when you go on the road like that. So maybe this is a good time for a road game.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I always like the home games myself.
Well, personally, yes.
No, I mean,
like
you and I, as a player,
right,
as a player, I didn't mind going on the road because you got to play in other stadiums.
Yeah.
You got to see,
Sure.
But you're right. I think it's a chance for us to you're healing all week.
Mm-hmm.
Each day is a little better.
Yep.
Each day a little bit, the next day a little bit better. You know, Monday you looked at your film and you looked at everything and you studied what you had to do and you looked at film on Fort Pierce Central. Now you know what you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you're right. I think maybe getting on the road, going down there, weather could be a factor. They're calling for rain all week, and that means practices could be hindered. We could be playing depending on the threat, the game. We don't know, but I know that the weather they're calling for rain all week in Florida, all across the state of Florida.
Yep.
At all, because of some of the storms coming out of the Caribbean. Yeah. And so we'll have to wait and see. So everything's a factor that you have to kind of understand. But it's a big game. Let's put it this way. You got to bounce back.
It's a big game for a number of reasons.
Yeah,
one,
exactly.
district game, and number two, it's the next game up.
Yeah, somebody once said, well, maybe that was a good loss. I said, no, I didn't know such a good loss. I said, nobody likes to lose. No coach likes to lose. No player likes to lose.
Yeah.
You play physical team. You play a team to beat you. They were better than us that night.
Yep.
That's
totally.
all as simple as to it.
Yeah.
Come back another week, and we might, you might have a different attitude, a different situation. So
yeah.
But I think it's a big game Friday night. I think Bureau.
Agreed.
Weather permitting and everything goes right, I think Bureau can win.
We will see. Friday night, we are down at Lawnwood Stadium to take on Fort Pierce Central for our first district matchup, first road game of the season. Gary Parrish, Paul Tipton, we've been inside the press box. Thanks for joining us. As always, go Indians.
Thanks for joining us inside the press box. For more, go to ChristianFM.com.